Hey there, Safecrackers, get your combinations ready because it is time for the Comic Vault. Hi, and welcome to the Comic Vault. Today on the Comic Vault we have a couple of comics for you, a couple of one-shots. We have the Deadlands, and we have, the Deadlands is a series of one-shots. The Deadlands, Black Water, and we also have the Tattered Man. Alright, let's start with the Deadlands, Black Water. Blackwater by Jeff Marriott and Brooke Turner. I have to say that this issue, let's see here, what happens in this issue? There's a guy who wants to know about some woman from his past that fixed him up after he was injured during the war, and he wants to go rediscover her. He lost track of her after the war, and it's his secret love. He's always loved this woman, so he's got to go find her. Which, a noble cause. Why not? So he goes and he looks for this woman, and she is supposedly dead. At the beginning of the book, he goes to I forget what you call those people, a spiritualist, a seance person, a psychic. So he goes to a psychic and he asks her to, look up this woman. So the woman finds her and says so the psychic finds her and says the woman's dead. She reaches out into the mystic waters and pulls back. She's dead. You cannot find her. And the guy says, I'm going to go look for her anyway, because that makes sense. So he goes out and he finds where she's supposed to be, and he commissions a boat, and there's a bunch of people that go on this boat with them, and then they run into various treacherous lands, and yada yada. So basically, it's to my understanding, Deadlands is supposed to be a role-playing game that, I don't know if it's book-based or a video game, I didn't do that research, but Deadlands is definitely a role-playing game of some kind, because in the back, the character for the guide that they have through these dangerous and treacherous lands, Lyle Crumfine, he has a bunch of statistics, so that's kind of neat. So if you like, oh, maybe I should tell you, I've recommended these things before, so in my head you already knew what this was, but I did recommend a Deadlands before. Deadlands is about westerns if the westerns had things from the occult, magic, monsters, if all this stuff existed within the idea of westerns. And that idea really appeals to me. If you add any kind of the occult to war or westerns, I get excited. Interestingly, I wasn't really excited about Cowboys vs. Aliens when it came out because that's not the occult, that's aliens. So I found this guy to be interesting, so I had to pick it up. I found it for $1, so I thought, I gotta take a look at it. Cover price is $2.99, so yeah. But this book is very much so an advertisement for a game. The other one, the one that I recommended that I thought was really terrific, it felt like a short story. It felt like a one-shot comic book. The point is that it was an entire story. This thing is trying to get you introduced to all of the varying ways that the game could take you. Sea monsters, sorcerers, how these things affect you in a western sort of climate. So that's really what it is. That's all it's about. I do not recommend this issue. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was really bare bones. The art's kind of pretty. There's some interesting pictures of some sea monsters and some boats being torn apart. There's some interesting pictures of what this thing calls black water affects the body. But really, this feels like you're getting together with your dungeon master, and your dungeon master says, okay, now you're going to fight some orcs. And now you're on a boat. And now you're on a horse. And now you're gambling. And now you're going to fight some more orcs. So, there's no orcs in this, but that's what it feels like. You're going to fight some creatures. And now you're on a boat. And now you're on a horse. And now I'm putting the comic down because I'm kind of done with it. It's not awful. It's just not a comic book. It's an advertisement. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray's The Tattered Man. I find The Tattered Man to be interesting in concept. This really feels more like a pilot to a series than it does a full-fledged story. What the Tattered Man is essentially about, to my understanding, according to the interviews in the back of the book, it does have an interview with Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. The artist is Norberto Fernandez. So, I did not know who that was prior to reading this book. So, thanks to the Tattered Man, I now know who Norberto Fernandez is, if I can ever remember how to pronounce his name. But, so essentially what this book is about is a group of junkies break into an old Jewish man's house and try to hold him up for money. And he tells them a story about the Tattered Man, or what the papers came to call the Tattered Man, which was about a sort of a spirit of vengeance that came about in World War II. And this spirit of vengeance is made up of all the clothes of dead. This is really what this book is about, but I'm sort of spoiling this. So the Tattered Man is made up of all the clothes of the people that were killed. So the clothes of the suffering people, of the murdered people in a Nazi death camp in World War II, all came together via this spiritual being and started killing a bunch of Nazis. So in this book, these guys break into this old Jewish man's home. He tells them about the story because they find some of the remnants of the Tattered Man, and then the kids, and this is a big spoiler warning, so I'm sorry if you're going to read this book at some point, but he tells them about how the Tattered Man killed all these Nazis, and then they look at this stuff, they look at this big bundle of Tattered Man remnants, and the Tattered Man is, what a great name for a character, the Tattered Man. I think that's neat. But this book, the Tattered Man is a continued spirit of vengeance. So when one of these guys kills the old Jewish man who managed to survive the Nazi death camp and has all these Tattered Man remnants, the Tattered Man takes over one of the guys one of these other junkies that didn't actually kill anybody. He tried to stop the murdering junkie from killing the old Jewish man. It's a little convenient. It's a little too easy. So the Tattered Man does possess the friend who's, against murdering, but for thieveries. Thievery's good, murder's bad. So the Tattered Man possesses him and makes him pay for his crimes. And what the Tattered Man does is he possesses his body and makes him kill other criminals. So if you've ever read The Spectre, it seems like everybody has a spirit of vengeance. There's the Crow, there's Ghost Rider, there's the Spectre. There's all these characters. It's become a very popular thing, which I understand. A supernatural vigilante, it makes sense to call them a spirit of vengeance. They refer to him as a spirit of vengeance within the contents of this book. They refer to Ghost Rider as a spirit of vengeance. I would bet money, although I'm not entirely certain, that the Spectre is called a spirit of vengeance. But so therefore, it's not necessarily new ground to be treaded. But the Tattered Man is such an interesting concept that I really wish this would have gotten a 6-issue series. I really wish, and maybe it does, or maybe it will, I don't know, but I would really rather it not include these junkies. I want it to be set during World War II. I want it to involve the Tattered Man, because they tell of some of his exploits that were not just within the confines of that one death camp. The Tattered Man is somebody who was a fabled threat. So I really wanted to hear more about the Tattered Man during World War II, because I really don't care about him modern day. Yeah, that's my assessment of this book. So thank you guys for watching the Comic Vault. So the Tattered Man, I recommend a read, but it's gonna leave you wanting. Deadlands, if you're interested in reading this book, I would say just pick up the role-playing game. You might actually have a little more fun. It's not awful, but it's not great. So, thanks for watching the Comic Vault, and remember, The Comic Vault is a vast, unknown amount of comics that exist within a vault somewhere. Comic Vault, hence the title. But you can buy from it if you go to wearegeeks.nerds.com and click on the Comic Vault. That's right. So go enjoy yourselves. Browse some comics. Buy some comics. Or donate some comics. You can donate some comics to us, or whatever you feel fit to donate to us. Doesn't have to be comics. Doesn't have to be anything. You can donate, as you feel free, to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. So thanks for watching the Comic Vault, guys. We'll catch you next time.